A very good morning to one and all students. Today we will be seeing our second unit. In the second unit, we will be talking about service quality. Under that service quality, we will be talking about the various gaps in service quality, and we will be talking about one more concept called the service marketing triangle. So these two topics we will be seeing in our second unit. So first we will see about the gaps model of service quality. So the gaps model means actually what we are facing when we are delivering the service or product to the customers. What we means the companies are facing, or as a customer, what we really face when we are getting the delivery of the product or service, because there will be lots of confusion between when we get the service and what we have actually seen in the service, either in advertisement or either in print media or in electronic media. Whatever you see, you may not be getting it while we are getting delivery. So this is actually a very big gap between the management and the customers. So that is what we are going to see in today's topic about service quality. So what are all the real service gap we are facing? We'll see one by one. These are all the objectives. So introduce a framework that is called the gaps model of service quality, and then demonstrating the gaps model in a useful framework for understanding service quality in organization. And we'll also be seeing the most critical service quality gap to close is the customer gap. The difference between what is the most important one, the difference between customer expectation and perceptions. And also it shows that four gaps that occur in companies, which we call it as provider gaps, are responsible for the customer gap. And also we'll see the final thing. So we'll be identifying the factors responsible for each of the four gaps. So what are the reasons actually why we are facing that problems, but also we'll see the various factors. And this is actually uh, the simple chart showing about the gaps model of service quality. So gap 1 will be talking about the expected service and what really the company's perceptions and expected service from the customer point of view. That is actually uh, gap 1. So please just go through this slide. What we will be talking about is expected service and perceived service. And if it is perceived service, so from that we'll be seeing service delivery, and we'll be seeing customer driven service designs and standards, and company perceptions of consumer expectations. And this side, right hand side, is talking about external communication to customers. So the first gap is actually really talking about where you can see in the chart itself. Gap 1 talking about the expected service and companies' perceptions of consumer expectations. So this is really the very big gap. What really the expected service, and what is the real company's perceptions, what the minds of the customers are thinking. That expectations always the company will be having. And second one is customer driven service designs and the company's perceptions of consumer expectation again. And third gap we'll be talking about service delivery and customer driven service designs and standards. And gap 4 will be talking about service delivery to service delivery to external communication to customer. So if you're not able to understand this entire chart, so in the coming slides, we'll be talking about what is that really each gap is talking about. So you can easily understand, even though sometimes it might be looking technical, but it is a very easy topic. This is actually the customer gap. This is what in the previous slide we were talking about expected service and perceived service. So this is actually the wherever you go, only this particular gap will be there. Expected service and perceived service you will be enjoying actually when you are in the service sector, because every day, every hour, every minute you will be facing new customers and new complaints and all. So this is where what really the customer has expected and what he has really perceived actually. This is a very big customer gap, and these are all the gaps model. Uh, there we have seen in the chart form. Here we are talking about in theoretical format. So customer gap is actually the difference between customer expectations and perceptions. This is a real customer gap. So in the customer gap only we will be saying that what are all the four gaps. Actually first one is talking about knowledge gap. Second one is talking about service design and standard gaps. And third gap will be talking about the service performance gap. And fourth one will be talking about the communication gap. These are all the four gaps we'll be talking. So first one is when talking about knowledge gap, we really will not be knowing what is the customer is expecting and their wants and needs. So where customer might be thinking of a different angle and you'll be expecting a different thing, and we may not be knowing what is really his need and want is. So this is a very big knowledge gap, because company will be thinking from other point of view, but customer will be thinking from different point of view again. So this is actually what really the customer might be thinking. He should be satisfied with the both product quality and also service quality. But companies will be thinking of only about one category, either product or service. So this is a very big knowledge gap again. And talking about the second gap, the service design and standard gap, they'll not be having the right service, what really the customer wants, the right service designs and standards, because customers might be thinking of very good standards and design, and also with sometimes they'll be thinking of the cost also. So this is actually they'll be talking about the design of the product should be of this category and standard should be of this category and all they'll be thinking. But actually it will not be like that. When you get in hand, whatever you were thinking in the mind, it will not be of the same standard and all. And third one will be talking about service performance gap. They'll not be delivering what is actually the service standards. What really the sometimes you might be thinking of this company will be providing of this particular service in a very good form, but actually you will not be getting. One of my friend actually when he went for in Mount Road, he went for servicing a car, a very big service center here as it is a video session. So I could not tell which service center or not. Just I'll give an example. So where he has gone to do the service for his car. Very big service provider for automobile sector, the two four-wheeler sectors. He went for service there, and when he got delivered, so it was very poor what the service they have done, and because of the name only he has went there. But after the service, that day, sorry, next day evening, he's got the vehicle. But if you see that the service performance was really the service standard here in a technical book. Service standard was not having that much quality here. So we can understand. So there is actually very big service gap again, service performance gap, and one more thing that is a gap for talking about the communication gap. It is not matching the performance to promises. So whatever they are doing the performance, it will not be matching the promise. This is a very big problem, because whatever we see and whatever we expect from the advertisement, so it will not be matching it when we are getting in hands. This is what actually is a very big communication gap, and so technically speaking, what we are talking about the customer expectation and consumer customer perceptions. So not knowing what this is what we were talking in the previous slide, not knowing what customers expect and not selecting the right service design and standards, not delivering the service standards, and not matching performance to promises. So in a simple format, when we see previous slide, sometimes it will be confusion. This is actually very simple slide. In one sentence, they are talking about in this. And the next slide will be talking about for each and every gap, there will be some four points. What is it really? The customer expectations and company perceptions of customer expectations. So we'll be seeing about 4 points here. Inadequate marketing research orientation. 4 points actually. First point we'll be talking about inadequate marketing research orientation, and second point we'll be talking about lack of upward communication, and the third point we'll be talking about insufficient relationship focus. Then fourth point we'll be talking about inadequate service recovery. So in inadequate marketing research orientation, first of all, the company would have not done any proper marketing research, whether this product will be successful or the service will be successful, or they'll not be focusing on research which is not having, they'll not be focusing on the research for full of service quality, and then inadequate use of market research. So insufficient. So if you are going for any product or service launch, before that you should have done 100% market research, or the insufficient marketing research will not be done properly. And then second point, in lack of upward communication, where there will be lack of interaction between management and customers. So because in the next point we'll be talking about because of also insufficient communication between the employees and the managers. This is a very big problem. Talking about insufficient communication between the managers and the employees, and sometimes if you look some companies, no, there will be too many layers between company contact personnel and top management. Too many layers means the hierarchy level will be very huge. If you want to communicate with top management, so in between there will be at least 6 or 7 persons. So that is also too many layers actually. And then third point we'll be talking about insufficient relationship focus. That is actually relationship focus means we'll not be concentrating on market segmentation, and then we'll not be talking about focus on transaction rather than relationships. Then we'll not be talking about focus on new customers rather than relationship customers. So many companies talk about new customers, but actually maintaining the relationship with customers also is very important point. Whenever you're going to identify new market, first of all we should identify that whether the present customers are really satisfied. So the relationship should be very good, the present customers, then only we should go for identification of new customers actually. Then every time people only talk about transactions rather than very good relationships. And every time when you are going for service marketing or in marketing also, you should concentrate on segmentation purpose. And fourth point is here is talking about inadequate service recovery. So lack of encouragement to listen to customer complaints. So whenever any customer is giving any complaints, they will never encourage, they will be discouraging. So you can manage that one and you can manage this one like that. Some unwanted reasons they will tell. And then failure to make amendments when things going wrong. So whenever any things are going wrong, so we should give some changes. Amendment means changes. Slight changes we can do here and there. So it will not be going for that much failure, and it will not be having no appropriate recovery mechanism in place of service failure. If something service failure is going wrong means, so for recovery, sometimes companies will not be taking any measures. What is the reason for failure? in service sector. So you should check it out properly. So that recovery mechanism, if it is very poor means, so companies should change. These are all the problems actually for gap 1. That is actually gap 1. Please understand. Gap 1 is talking about customer expectations and company perceptions of customer expectations. And gap 2 will be talking about customer driven service designs and standards and management perceptions of customer expectations. So company perception means views. Management perception will be totally different. But customer perception will be totally of in other angle. So you should understand. So in the gap 2, in this point itself, it has been given that there's customer driven service design and standards. So three categories we'll be talking in and about gap 2. That is actually poor service design, then absence of customer driven standards, then talking about inappropriate physical evidence and service gates. So when talking about poor service design, so it is actually an unsystematic new service development process, and it will be vague, undefined service designs, failure to connect service design to service positioning. So few companies, even though they're having service, they'll be having a very poor service design. It will be very much unsystematic for new system development process. So every time, few companies were very much successful because of this service design. A very big example, previously, before 30 years and all, there was one company very famous for service, uh, BPL televisions. So they were very much successful only because of two categories. One is channel network, and second one is talking about service. Because of these two things, they were very much successful for more than 7 to 8 years. So a company, an electronic company, is successful for more than 7 to 8 years means it is a very big category. So the service design actually. So few companies even now they're having a very good service design, but most of the companies will be having a failure here in service design. So it will be very vague. So we customers really don't know what to do and where to give complaints, and that is what your failure to connect service design to service positioning. So when a rural person is purchasing any product, say for example any washing machine. So if he's purchasing washing machine, if you want to have a complaint after 3 months or 4 months, you don't know where to register. So that much knowledge, rural people and all, even at present we are not having. So it should be very simple actually. And second point is talking about it is actually the absence of customer-driven standards. So where there will be having a lack of customer-driven service standards, absence of process management to focus on customer requirements. So what really the customer requires, that process will not be there, and formal process also will not be there to set up service quality goals and all. And third point is talking about inappropriate physical evidence and service kits. That is actually failure to develop tangibles in line with customer what really is happening when you give a complaint. That it will not be properly, uh, it will not be properly, the customers will not be having awareness what really it is going on in the service process. And the service scape means design. The service scape design does not meet customer and employee needs. So service scape design that does not meet customer and employee needs, and also inadequate maintenance and updating of the service scape. Every time when you're talking about a particular scape, it should be an updated one, and also properly it will not be maintained. So this is very big after the customer expectation and management other thing. So this is the second gap where companies will be facing a major problem. And this one is talking about customer driven service design, customer driven service designs and standards and service delivery. Normally here, wherever you go, you will face these problems in service delivery, deficiencies in human resource policies. 4 points we'll be discussing in this gap 3. Deficiencies in human resource policies, customers who do not fulfill roles, problems with service intermediaries, and failure to match supply and demand. So first point in gap 3 will be talking about a deficiency in human resource policies, under that inefficient inefficient recruitment, the right person for right job. So we should apply here. Then only ineffective recruitment will not be there. Then role ambiguity and role conflict. So role ambiguity and role conflict means here if there is any problem, simply they'll be pushing the problems to some other employees. This is what the major problem. If anything is good means they will accept it. But if there is any even a minor problem, they'll simply it is the duty of the other person to take care. That is what here role ambiguity and role conflict and poor employee technology. So if the employees are not technologically updated, so he will be unfit to that particular where he is sitting for that particular post. And then inappropriate evaluation and compensation benefits because of poor compensation systems also people will not be showing that much interest, lack of empowerment, they'll not be having authority to do some work, then perceived control and teamwork. So it's a very big problem because of company setups now. So perceived control, some other person will be having a control, so to take that and to implement, he'll not be having authorities. So there it will be a very big point in talking about deficiencies in human resource policies. And next point will be talking about customers who do not fulfill roles. So they will not be customers will not be having lack. They will be having lack of knowledge and of their roles and responsibilities. They should also participate. They will not be knowing it, and they will be always having negatively impact. So they'll be thinking this company will be having only this category. That much image they'll be creating in their mind. And then with service intermediaries, there will be a very big conflict between their objectives and performance, channel conflict, then difficulty in controlling over quality and consistency. So where controlling difficulty in controlling quality and consistency is that actually where people, the companies will be having to monitor this quality and consistency. It is very difficult unless and until the service employee is giving some report, good clarity report. So please underline the word clarity report, and then tension between empowerment and control. So where who will be taking the work and who will be delivering the service, and if there is any problem, who is going to take care of the problems with the customers. These things and all, the empowerment and control should be taking care. And then failure to match supply and demand. That is the fourth point here. Failure to smooth peaks and valleys of demand and inappropriate customer mix. Then over reliance on price to smooth demand. So failure to smooth peaks and valley of demand is that actually here talking about whenever say for example if you're purchasing AC, mostly people will be purchasing ACs from the month of March, and in between the month of March to July also, sorry, August also we can keep. So that much demand will be there at that time during that month. So when we are going and purchasing AC, they'll be delivering it quickly, but for fixing that AC it will take some time. So where if you are purchasing is AC today and the day evening itself they will be delivering, but for fixing it up, the company people will be taking minimum 3 to 4 days. So that also a very big relationship will be spoiled between the companies and the customer. So inappropriate customer mix is a very big problem. When you go and see there, you can see that. And fourth gap will be talking about the external communications between the service delivery and the customer external communication to customers. This we'll be talking about here is again 4 points here in this gap 4. Lack of integrated service marketing communication, ineffective management of customer expectation, over promising, then inadequate horizontal communication. So these 4 points we'll be talking about in gap 4. So first point is lack of integrated service marketing communication. That is tendency to view external communication as independent, not including interactive marketing in communications plan, then absence of strong internal marketing program. So every time in external communication, you should not think it is an independent. So every time you should have interactive marketing plan. Then only it will be successful. So then if you want to implement that interactive marketing plan, so you should have a strong internal marketing persons really what the problem when you are going to implement interactive communication system when you are introducing in the company. If you are going to have an external communication system, an internal marketing system should be very strong because they should know that what will be happening really when you are implementing in external communication systems. So this is the main thing for integrated service marketing communications and ineffective management of customer expectation. That is absence of customer expectation management through all forms of communication and lack of adequate education for customers. You should give knowledge first of all. So give education. What really the product without knowing many people are purchasing many products. Therefore, whether it is useful or not, they don't know. And they after using it they give they'll not be having this problem we are facing and that problems you are facing. So first of all we should know what is that real product is really good for you or not. So this is the main thing. And over promising in advertising and over promising in personal selling and over promising through physical evidence cues. We people always see advertisement, we think too much of that product and we purchase it and finally we are not satisfied. So that is actually a very big thing in advertising. So people, many people many people see advertisements and they purchase a product and finally when they are using it, no, or they will not be satisfied. Like that even in your personal selling, if any person is coming and selling the product, while selling he will tell many things, but when you are using, you will not get it properly. So these are all the main problems in external communications and while delivering it. Okay, and inadequate horizontal communication, that is insufficient communication between the sales management and operations management people, sales department and operations department people, and then insufficient communication between advertising and operation departments because advertisement they will be telling one thing and in operation they could not performing it. Then differences in policies and procedures across branches or unit. So for each and every branch they will be following different policies, different policies and procedures for every branches, that it should not be there because one person will be purchasing a product in one particular place and when he's switching over, when he's coming to this branch, they'll be telling some other issues. That should not be there. All over India, it should be the same if you're fixing like that. So that is what here we'll be talking about very big 4 gaps in service quality. So this is what we were talking about in gaps model. So you can please understand, you should have understood that really what the customers are facing and the companies are facing. The problems here with this service quality gaps, you can easily understand. If you're not able to understand, please again refer this video slowly. It will be having very much knowledgeable information related to service gaps. Okay, so please read or go through this video. It will be very much interesting, students. So if any doubts, please be free to call me and I can clarify it. Okay, thank you, students.